Okay, guys, just quick overview. I know we were moving through the introduction to this project pretty quickly, so I just wanted to make sure I cover any little last minute things. And of course, if you have questions, be sure to reach out to me. Just remember, you're creating a document with a 7 by 7 page size as listed in the assignment, and you're going to create 25 artboards spaced an inch apart within 5 columns. So essentially a 5 by 5 grid of artboards that you'll be working with, okay? And again, remember on your first artboard, as stated, you're going to have your initials, and then you're going to have, and those can be set in uppercase, lowercase, combination, whatever you want. And then you're going to modify them somehow. You know, even if minor, you're going to go in and modify them in such a way that they work for your whatever your layout purpose is, okay? And again, so the first thing you want to do in order to modify any of your type is you're going to make sure it's not type anymore, okay? You want to go to type, create outlines, and then you want to go to object ungroup, and now they can be manipulated individually, okay? And so, for example, in this one, all I did was join them together. But like I said, they wouldn't join perfectly together, right? So I had to go in and modify. If you look closely, there's some funky overlap here. And so you have to go in and modify those ideally, okay? That's not bad, but so I don't like this curve here. First thing I'm gonna do is make sure that if you start to combine them, get them to where you like them, and then select both of them holding Shift, and then go to your Pathfinder tool and hit Unite. And now it's a single shape that I can now modify, okay? So using my white arrow, my direct selection tool, I can then start to go in and push these around a little bit and see what I can do to refine this shape, okay? It might be tricky. You can always use your smooth tool to work out any kink areas here that might be in need of help. And you can decide the level to which you want to detail them, but get it to where it doesn't look as it's two pieces sort of shoved together. You want to have them be at least fairly seamless. You can see on this version here, I've moved them closer together and actually joined the bottom. I extended this serif to connect to the stem of the J here, okay? So make sure you modify your initials in some way, shape, or form, and it's the modified version that you'll be using for your compositions, okay? The second one, you're just going to use the first letter, your first name. You have to rotate that in whatever way you see fit, depending on the letter and how it works best for you. And the numeral, you have to copy it at least, duplicate it at least 3 times, repeat it 3 times, and then you have to employ rotation. Okay, so whatever the number is and how many you apply beyond 3 is up to you, but you have to have a minimum of 3. How you rotate it is up to you, etc. And you're going to be taking that and making a single composition to that rather than a pattern. You'll be creating pattern here. You'll be creating pattern out of your two different letters that you have, which is the artboard or this section here. You're going to have your scale differences between the two, and then you're going to employ pattern with those in a way that connects to some sort of rhythmic movement or a sense of rhythm, okay, via repetition. And then in your last one, you're going to take your punctuation symbol, and then you're going to repeat it and modify it in a way that you see fit. The first one I repeated and rotated, and then as it was working, I didn't like it with the slash in there, so I just got rid of that, which is fine if you want to do that. And then looking at this, I thought, okay, this isn't going to work by itself as a compositional element if I was going to use it by itself, but as a pattern, as use in a pattern, that might work well. And in my last section for punctuation, do the first 3 for pattern. My last 2 are just organic compositions based on varying scale and overlap, and how I use it then is up to me, okay? So just as a reminder, that's what your setup will essentially look like. I didn't apply all the color schemes to these, as you can see, but so just to clarify on the last one, you see this this modified element used as pattern for the first 3, and then the last 2 will be composed as you see fit using repetition and scale increases and overlap, etc. Okay, and the color schemes you apply to those are up to you. Each section of artboard, the color scheme you want to utilize is spelled out for you. So if there are any questions there, let me know. On that note, if you are going to want to create a palette, if say once you you want to apply 4 colors, for example, you might want to consider using the Paleton, which is Paleton.com. Once you get here, it's pretty self-explanatory, but you can select, as you see here, monochromatic, adjacent colors, which would be essentially analogous, the triads and the tetrads here. Okay, so if you're going to use the monochrome, you can also use tints. Okay, and as you see here in each of these, if your document is in CMYK, that's okay. You can still use RGB colors, but you can use tints if you're going to do monochrome, just to be aware. I mean, you can use tints in all of these, tints or shades, depending on what you prefer, okay? So here would be an example of a monochromatic layout, or sorry, color scheme, as with this, and these are some tints that could be applied and some shades that could be applied, okay? And so if I get into, say, adjacent colors, if you move this around by the middle one, it'll move around the circle. Okay, if you want more vibrant color, you can move it here. If you want a bit lighter, more, you want some more white added or some darker color added, you can move these accordingly. I tend to keep it over here. It's just like nice vibrant color and it works fine. And then these, if you wanted to actually, for the adjacent colors, analogous colors, if you wanted to spread out these side ones more, you could. And it'll start to slowly change your palette here, as you can see on the right. Okay, so that's going to be your call. Once you get it to a place you like, if you click on the tables part, it'll show you the RGB values here. So you can either input the RGB values or you can apply the hex codes here. Okay, so for example, if I this is 0C3BA1, I know that that's the color that I can apply if I'm in my Illustrator document, and say I come over here and I select. Remember, if I have my black arrow and I double click, this is a group that's masked. If I double click on that, you'll see my screen changes. Now in isolation mode. I can select just a grouped element individually by being in isolation mode. So I could then go into here if I wanted to, in my color section. You can see it's CMYK. If I wanted to use that hex color, I can just switch my option here to RGB. And then I can take that hex code from the Paleton website and enter it in there, and it'll give me that color. And I can do that for each of the colors in my color scheme application. Okay, so that might be a useful tool for you to consider. So that's that. So the other thing you might want to consider too is using the paint bucket, the live paint bucket here, which is in your tool palette here. If you click on the live paint bucket, just be aware that once you select an element, and it depends on how you set up your type here in terms of how the live paint will be applied. So if you get your live paint element here, and I got to click on a grouped element here. I'm sorry, I got to click on my group first. So make sure your grouped element is selected before you work with the bucket, and then you'll see that it'll apply. You can scroll through using your arrows. Okay, yeah, see how I'm just pushing my left and right arrows here, and it's scrolling through those colors. If I select yellow, it's going to apply yellow to that. Now notice here it didn't apply the yellow down in this little section. Okay, that's because I haven't united this. When I pulled that serif over, I did that after I had united these top sections of the two characters. So if let me click out of there actually. Okay, and then I'm going to select that again. Let me unmask this actually. So what I should do is I shouldn't wait until this point. I'm going to want to go in here and I unmask that real quick. Let's get rid of that. I'm going to select this item here. Because I've already applied live paint, it's altered my my two characters already. So I'm gonna Command Z this here for me. Sorry about this. I'm gonna go in here now, and when I take this, you see how that little line there is showing that this is not joined together yet? I'm gonna go ahead and unite that. And now it's gone. Okay, so that's all I needed to do it before I applied the live paint bucket. So as just a good thing to know is once you start using the live paint bucket and you've selected a group, some grouped objects, it'll modify those objects, and so it'll just be that way, not going forward. So if you have anything that you want to make, any modifications you want to make, any unites or minus fronts or anything, make sure you do those ahead of time. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remask those. And I know a couple people asked just to refresh again. You know, whatever your container is, in this case it's a square, I'm going to have that on top, and then I'm going to select whatever you mask has to be grouped together. I'm going to select both of those. I'm going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make, and that will group the objects. Okay. So now my background color is gone because that's what happens when you mask it. So if I double click here, I'm in isolation mode. I can click on my mask item there and reapply my color. Okay. So that's that. So then if you do that and you want to now use your live paint tool, as long as you have your grouped items selected, you can apply your live paint bucket and shift through here and apply whatever you want to apply. And if I want to apply maybe a different color here, okay, you can see that it's modified the shape even in the counter form areas. Okay, if I wanted to do a looks like kind of a Superman primary situation there. How you apply the colors are up to you, but that live paint tool, you scroll through once you select your group items. Scroll through using your left and right arrows, and you can change your colors on the fly here if you want to. Okay, and you can apply. This is handy if you have some 4 or 5, 3 or 4 color schemes that you want to try to apply. Okay, you can create color groups and then apply the grouped items to that paint bucket tool in order, which is kind of nice too. Okay, so the colors you apply are it's going to be based on your preferences and also based on the requirements for each different layout. Okay, so you can see how different colors, even especially within the counterform areas. Okay, so you don't have to just color the character itself. You can color within the negative spaces by using the live paint tool. It really changes the look of the layout a lot. Okay, and so that again, how you apply that is your call. What else do I want to talk about quickly? Just one thing I touched on in class, and a couple people asked me again about it, was if I want to have a composition like this where I have overlap. You can see here I've done it to where there are no visible overlaps, because once you add different colors, things like this start to happen, and I don't like the way that looks. So here, what I could do is, again, double-clicking on my selection here. I've already ungrouped these, so if you have to, make sure you go, when you select this, if it's grouped, just ungroup it. If I want to get rid of this component here, I'm going to select this blue, because what I want to do is use minus front and essentially slice that off exactly with that curve of this blue character here. I would just go to Edit, Copy, and then Edit, Paste in front. So I've pasted it in front of the blue letter. And then I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Now that's on top. With it still selected, I'm going to hold Shift, select my purple character back there, go to my Pathfinder, hit minus front, and there we go. Okay. So now we have that clean sort of slice there, and we're good to go. Okay. So there are a few things there. In your assignment also is the palette. I'm sorry, not palette. The presentation template for your 5 finals. Okay, so if you double click on that, you'll essentially get this. Okay, and all you're going to do is once you get your 5 finals, you're going to say you like. Let's say you like this one here. Okay, it's already masked. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to bring it in here into my template, paste it. This is 7 by 7. These are 3.5 by 3.5. So I could just simply click on this, go to my scale tool, and go to 50%, tab through those, hit OK, and that should fit right there. Okay. What I might do is I might offset it a little bit and then select both of these, and using my align palette, I'll go to my vertical align top and my horizontal align left, and that'll be exactly where I want it to be. okay? And I'm going to do that for each of the others, okay? For this one, I would then put the color scheme name, so I would put near complements, near complementary, okay? And so whatever the scheme is, make sure you name it, okay? And your total favorite, put here in the superstar position, okay? That's essentially it. And if you have any questions, again, please be sure to email me directly, and we'll get you settled. And have a great weekend. Thanks.